Good morning, everyone. All right, there we go. I'm Andrea Youngdahl, Director of the Alameda County Interagency Children's Policy Council, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here to our forum on this very critical issue, the new war on poverty, economic empowerment opportunities for children and families. As Supervisor Chan says, when we really dig into the data and look at what's happening for families, and especially families with kids, we should all be out in the street, or for some of us, that means going out into the street again, because the data are devastating, and the importance of this issue is critical to the survival of the health and well-being of our communities. So we're pleased to have you here, and we hope we can move on from here and spread the news. I was listening to Bill Moyers over the weekend and reminded that the tax rate for the people who pay people with the lowest incomes is twice as much as people with the highest incomes in our country. And that should be a call to action for all of us. I'm here with Simone Turek, who is the new Executive Director of the Foster Youth Alliance. We're very pleased to have her. She comes from a very rich background of policy and advocacy work, most recently at the John Burton Foundation. I want to thank the many sponsors and partners who participated in developing this. The Alameda County Oakland Community Action Partnerships, the Building Blocks, Alameda County Health Initiative, Building Blocks Collaborative, the Alameda County Social Services Agency, the Alameda County Human Impact Budget and its many partners, the Foster Youth Alliance, and of course the ICPC, the Interagency Children's Policy Council. Everyone provided insight, thoughts, good planning effort, very intensive planning effort, and resources to put this together for today. I also want to especially thank the following people: Supervisor Wilma Chan, Dave Brown, and Alex Boscovich, who are staff of Wilma's, Bina Shrimali, I'm sorry, Bina. Bina Shrimali from Alameda County Building Blocks Collaborative, Lisa Forti and Kristen Spanos from the Alameda County Social Services Agency, Seth Kaplan from the Human Impact Budget, the Office of Assemblyperson Rob Bonta, Simone from the Foster Youth Alliance, Rose De Leon Foot, who's our youth advocate, and Simone will introduce later, and special thanks to Estelle Clemens, Ceci Garcia, Barbara Amaro from the Oakland Alameda County CAP, and also very special thanks to the team from ICPC, Paige Tomlin and Emily Pangelinan, who held all the details together. The bathrooms are to the left, and then you have to wind your way around the hall, and there will be a break at 10:15, but please take care of your needs as we go through the day. And there are resource tables in the back and around the sides, and there also will be probably press here, so we want to let you know that that may be going on. All of the materials presented today will be on the ICPC website and other websites by the end of the week. I'd like to now turn it over to Simone.
Thank you, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's really great to be here. As Andrea mentioned, I'm new. I just started at Foster Youth Alliance last month as the new director. I replaced Reed Connell, so previously if you've come to these children's policy forums, you probably saw him up here with Andrea kind of welcoming the day. So I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I'm looking forward to working with a lot of you in different capacities. For those of you who don't know, the Alameda County Foster Youth Alliance is a coalition of community-based organizations and public agencies that work towards ensuring the well-being and empowerment of foster and probation youth in Alameda County. But being one of the only, being the only children's advocacy organization that's Alameda County based, or Bay Area based rather, our work often stretches beyond just, foster youth. It's a lot bigger than that because there are so many kind of interrelated issues that go on. We work on issues of children's mental health, homelessness, and today we're going to talk about poverty, which is a big, vast issue, and we're going to focus in on economic empowerment. We know that when we see high poverty rates, we know that a significant portion of the people affected by that are children. And so for this reason, it's really important that we do have a youth voice present. I'm sure this is a room with a diverse range of experiences and childhoods growing up from varying economic levels and such, but what none of us have that are over the age of 30, say, is the very recent experience or current experience of what it's like to grow up in Alameda County right now. And so it's really important that we bring a youth voice, a young voice, to represent that experience. And today, we have Rose DeLeon Foote. You want to wave to everyone? Hello. And she's here to represent Youth Voice. And when I say that, I don't mean that she's going to represent every youth in the world, because she can obviously only speak for herself. But she has a very youth-informed perspective. And she's really embedded in and enthusiastic about creating change in low-income communities of color through policy, academic research, and direct service. Ms. DeLeon graduated from UC Berkeley 3 years ago at the age of 20, and since graduating, she's spent several years engaging young people through her work through AmeriCorps and at Youth Uprising, and she's currently a program coordinator for the Tenderloin After School program. And she's just been accepted into the Masters of Public Policy program at Mills, so that's a big deal. Now, I'll get off the stage in a second, but I have one more very important person to introduce that I'm very honored to be introducing to you today. We are joined today by the Honorable Wilma Chan. As you know, Wilma Chan is County Supervisor for District 3, which includes the city of Alameda, parts of Oakland, and San Leandro and San Lorenzo. Supervisor Chan is the chair of the county's health committee. She is a member of the county's administrative and legislative committee and budget committee and unincorporated services committee. So I think she's very busy, I have a feeling. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, Supervisor Chan developed and implemented the human impact budget, which you'll hear about today from both her and Seth Kaplan. And she led our county with the full support of the rest of the board to become the first county in the nation to adopt the Health and Human Services Secretary Sebelius's challenge to connect all eligible children to health coverage. It's one of the many things that she's done for this county. In her former life, Supervisor Chan happens to have served as the first woman majority leader of the California State Assembly, where she represented Oakland, Piedmont, and Alameda from 2000 to 2006. And she authored several groundbreaking bills. She made California the first state to ban toxic flame retardants and implement a no lead standard in drinking water pipes and fixtures. Pretty important. Supervisor Chan authored historic legislation to end the practice of hospitals overcharging uninsured and underinsured patients and to cover California's 800,000 uninsured children. She won approval of $100 million to expand state preschool and fought successfully to maintain the state's master plan for college student access. And it was her bill in 2010 that blew the whistle on Anthem Blue Cross when they tried to implement a 33% rate increase in California. The national attention to this issue helped propel national health care reform to victory. She's done a lot for this state and this county, and it's very impressive. So today, as I mentioned, Supervisor Chan and Seth Kaplan are going to talk about the human impact budget, which is a very cool, now permanent component of our budget, but I'll let them tell you more about it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm always happy to be at these ICPC forums. I know most of you, many of you out there are providers and do the day-to-day work that really help the citizens of our county. And we also have some department heads here. And I want to, in advance, thank you very much. I want to thank all the sponsors. And of course, Andrea didn't mention herself, but thank her for her tireless work on the ICPC. So today, actually, I'm going to take a few minutes before Seth comes up to show you the human impact budget site, if you haven't seen it already, to talk about why I took the initiative to bring to the Board of Supervisors on the 50th anniversary of President Johnson's war on poverty, a new war on poverty in Alameda County. Today, you're going to hear a lot of facts and figures from people, so I'm not going to dwell on the facts and figures. You're going to hear some very interesting information and data, and I'm actually looking forward to it too, even though I think it's going to be a little bit upsetting and shocking to you if you haven't already looked at it. But I wanted to tell you a little bit today about why I was so passionate about the county doing a new war on poverty, and because I want that energy to translate to you, and I want you to all feel the same way that I feel about it today. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and although my family wasn't poor, my parents were first-generation immigrants to this country, and so we faced a lot of barriers when I was growing up, mainly around racial discrimination. And I could tell you, I'm not going to tell you a lot of stories, but I can tell you as a little girl the heartbreak of when we went to look at a house that we wanted to buy, being told by my mom later that they wouldn't sell it to us because we were Chinese. The heartbreak of having to walk to school a lot of times when I was in 3rd to 6th grade, young child, and being teased every day on a daily basis. And also this is really disturbing to me because I remember when we finally did move and we got a nice house outside of the suburbs of Boston. My parents moved there for the schools because they were really great public schools back then. My mom brought, as a neighborly thing, had cooked these Chinese pastries, and we're in Chinatown now, so I know you all enjoy them. But anyway, she had baked them and she brought them to our neighbor, and our neighbor rejected them because she said, well, these look really weird, I would never eat this. And my mom came home with this whole tray of food, and so, things like this. So I was very fortunate, as I said, because I didn't grow up in poverty, but I have faced a lot of barriers. So for me, I was pretty young. I was a young teenager, but 1964, when President Johnson declared the war on poverty, was a really, really exciting year. And I don't see too many gray-haired people here, but some of you will also remember the time, or those of you who weren't alive then have read about it. And if you haven't read about it, I really, really encourage you to look at some footage of it, go back and look at the history books, because it was a really, really exciting time. So I was trying to think back, and I was saying, well, what was the most exciting thing? The Beatles came to America that year, and then the New York City hosted the World's Fair that year, which was really a big deal. And if you go to New York, you can still see the globe out in Flushing, on the way from Kennedy Airport into New York City. But it was also the year that President Johnson declared the war on poverty, and there was just great social upheaval and change. Also, we just celebrated the anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. So it was really exciting, and those things may seem like they're not connected to each other, but basically it was a time of very, very great change and very great upheaval, and a realization that it had come time to address real issues that were plaguing the country, and that we were all going to work together, and we were all going to be focused, and we were going to all deal with these issues. And all of those things that I talked about, some more important than others perhaps, but pointed to the need for change and the need for that type of focus. I think the war on poverty was particularly significant because this was in the post-war era, yet there was a realization that the economic prosperity that had come after World War II did not come to everybody. On the surface, maybe it looked great. You all probably have watched Mad Men, and some people did really well, but there was a whole group of people in the Appalachian Mountains, in the Deep South, who were in poverty, who were trapped in the urban centers, in tenements, without enough food, without health care. And it was really exciting to me to see a president come forward who would say those things. A lot of times we don't like to hear it. Like even today, I feel sometimes we don't like to hear it. But would come forward and tell the truth and say that this was a time when we really had to address it. This is a time when we recognized that we really had to change something. So to me, that period of time was a time of truth-telling. It was a time of hope because people caught on to the message, and it was a time clearly of action. And I would say, we're in a similar situation. I'm not saying we're exactly the same, but I think we're in a very, very similar situation. This is a time when we need some truth-telling, some action, and we really need some great change. We all went through one of the greatest recessions since the 1930s, and now some people are saying things have gotten a lot better. And certainly, for some sectors, things have gotten better, and I'm very glad of that. I mean, this is not 2008, 2009. But for so many people, when you look at this human impact budget, and you're going to hear today, people were really, really hurt. Tens of thousands of people throughout the state in Alameda County have been left behind because of decisions that happened, because of the economy. And this is not something that's necessarily fun to talk about, but just like in '64, this is not something that we can turn a blind eye to and pretend doesn't exist. I think all of you here, as I'm probably speaking to the choir, but this is something we have to get out to other people, and this is something that we have to be really active about. I'm just going to say a few statistics, but you're going to hear more of them. It's totally unacceptable that a quarter of our children in Alameda County live in poverty. And this is the standard poverty level. Seth is going to show you a slide probably that says that actually for a family of 3, you need $66,000 a year to live in this county in a somewhat comfortable position. Not, not like in the land of luxury or anything, but just feeling that you can have health care, that you can live in a decent house, that your kids can have child care so that you can go to work. And we know that the federal poverty level, the minimum wage, a lot of these things aren't anywhere near that level. Also, California, under the new Stanford description, has the highest poverty rate in the country. And we should be shocked by that. We should be shocked by that. California has the highest poverty rate in the country. It also has the highest poverty rate among our elder population, among seniors. This is shocking stuff, right? Because we supposedly live in the land of golden opportunity, and if I went up to someone on the street and I said, which state do you think has the highest poverty rate? I don't think most people are going to say California. But this is true. This is based on data. In Alameda County, we have close to 200,000 people who live in poverty. Again, this is the standard poverty definition. So if we used a different real poverty definition, it would be much higher than that. And there are 15 neighborhoods in our county where the child poverty rate is over 50%. Over 50%, 15 neighborhoods. And of course, all of us know, and you can read it almost every day, because since this war on poverty started, my staff goes crazy because I cut clippings out every single day and I put them on their desk about this topic. But income inequality in this country has never been worse. And there was just an article that came out last week that 10% of Americans today control 75% of the wealth of this country. 10% control 75%. I mean, is this fair? And is this the American dream that we in Alameda County and the country have been thinking about? We also, I was very happy to see our young person here today who's doing so well, but we have the next generation of millennials. And they're leaving colleges and universities with huge debts, and yet they're unable to find decent jobs. In fact, another statistic you'll see is the poor in our county are mainly working. Contrary to the stereotype, it's not because people aren't seeking jobs, it's not because people are sitting in their homes, watching TV or whatever the stereotype is, but it's because they cannot find they have minimum wage, they can't find decent jobs. So these young people are coming out and they're having to take whatever jobs they can take, and they're not making it. They're not making it. We have others who don't even think about going to college these days, because they just see this uphill barrier of not only the tuition, but the debt after that. And they don't know how they're gonna make it through. And the dreams of buying homes and raising families and having safe, healthy, secure neighborhoods is slipping away from this generation. Well, these are our future leaders, and we owe them. We owe our children, and we owe the young people the right to have their dreams. So we want them to be our future leaders. We want them to lead this struggle. And it won't be the same as the 60s, but the passion needs to be the same. The feeling, the drive, the hope, the passion needs to be exactly the same. So what do we need to do? First, as I said, we need to educate each other and not turn a blind eye to what's going on in society today. we have to recognize that the recovery certainly has not lifted all boats, and we need to look at those who have really been left behind. We need to, the uneasiness each of us feel, the sense of injustice that each of us feel, we need to turn that into action, and we need to be very focused about this work. I used to be in Sacramento, and I find it very disturbing at times, for different reasons, that the policy focus there shifts from minute to minute. And maybe it's because of technology. I don't know what the reason is exactly. But, to do anything well is difficult, and it requires a lot of focus, and it requires a lot of patience, and sometimes it requires a certain amount of time. Things weren't, Rome wasn't built in one day, right? So those of us in this room, we have to dedicate ourselves to doing this in a very focused way, in a very stubborn way, in a way that says we're not going to give up, till it's done. So, as President Johnson said back then, he said, we will not rest until the war is won. We will not rest until the war is won. We have to adopt that exact same attitude, and we have to be focused. And we have to ask our legislators in Sacramento and the governor and those in Congress to be focused on this issue. This is what equality, humanity, this is what has made this country great. This is what has made California and this county great. So we are talking about the future here, and particularly about our children. So lastly, I just want to talk to you. We are working on various ideas to tackle childhood and family poverty. And there are several areas that we're focused on right now that I just want to mention to you before Seth comes out. Obviously, education. Without a quality education has always been the equalizer in society. And it's really great that in the last couple years the schools have received more funding. They are still severely underfunded, but at least it's a little bit better than it was. There's an opportunity probably for the first time in 8 years, because these things tend to travel in cycles, but for the first time in 8 years to look at refunding preschool opportunities and quality childcare programs. Some of you may remember in 2005, there was a failed ballot initiative to make universal preschool, and then it kind of disappeared for a while. Well, here's an opportunity now. People are talking about kids again. People are talking about young kids again. So let's focus on that. Let's get them ready. Let's make sure they have everything that they need to succeed in school and to continue to support our teachers and our educational system. The second is food. In Alameda County now, 1 out of 6 families depends on the food bank for their regular food. I mean, this is shocking. For their regular food supply, 1 out of 6 families in Alameda County. And yet, California has the lowest uptake of CalFresh, again, of almost any state in the nation. We're about 50th. And that's because the form is impossible. Food Bank has given our office some great ideas. There's some same-day registration programs where it's a one-page form, you fill it out, and you get your card, and you can go buy food at the grocery store. But in California, there's a lot of improvement. We also, there's some great models. I think this new war of poverty is not going to rely only on old methods and finding money. I mean, that's part of it. But we have some really intelligent people. We can use technology. We can use the fact that we can find information and best practices, in a snap. We've been working, for instance, on a program, or looking into a program that the Oakland School District has, where they repurpose food. They always have excess food from the school lunch program, including milk, vegetables, and other things. So in a couple schools in the Oakland School District now, they are able to donate those out to the food bank and families who need food. Now, one of the barriers there this is a pretty simple barrier, is they don't have enough refrigeration, because they have to turn this food around, I think, within an hour and a half to 2 hours. And if they don't, obviously the food becomes spoiled and they can't use it. So let's, start there. Let's take something like that. That's a great innovative program. Let's get them the refrigerators they need, right? So that this can expand and go out to more schools. The last area, obviously, is employment, and I think you're going to hear a lot about this today. I mean, end result, you don't have a good job, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be able to make it, and it has to be a job that pays a decent wage. In Alameda County right now, we're working together with our social service agency. We were able to hire some people this year. We got some money for the Affordable Care Act to enroll people in health insurance. We got some slots. And so we're looking at hiring a pilot to hire some of our former CalWorks clients into those slots. In order to do that, we'll probably have to waive some of the civil service requirements, allow them to take the jobs, and then take the civil service exam 6 months later. But I want Alameda County to be an example to other government agencies and other workplaces that there are ways to employ people who want to have jobs. There may have to be extra training, there may have to be some barriers that we get around, but there are jobs that are being created now. So let's get them to the people who need them. These moms who need to go to work so that their kids can get the food, get the education, get the childcare, get the things that they need. So with that, I just again want to thank you all for coming today. I'm going to introduce Seth Kaplan, who we've been very, very fortunate is heading up our human impact budget. Part of this, as I said, is the awareness of these issues. And we started the human impact budget 2 years ago to let people know that when you look at our budget, and we're in budget cycle right now, it's not just numbers. Every number is tied to a human need. If budgets aren't about humans, I don't know what they're about. Even the issue of a rainy day fund or reserve, what is it for? It's for if we have a catastrophe that affects people, right, that you'll have the money there. Everything to me about budgeting comes down to people. If it doesn't come down to people, what is it about? You know, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to use this money to help people, whether it's in the long term, short term. We need to be prudent, but it's all about people. So this is a tool that will, hopefully you can use and you can get out and let other people know about it. This is the first step in an education about what's going on today, because without that education, we won't be able to get started, and we won't have that passion, and we won't know what to do. So again, I want to thank you very much, and I just want to let you know that in Alameda County, we won't rest until the war is over. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. That's good, I like that. So what I'm going to do is very quickly take us through the Human Impact website. Emily down here, we're working with technology challenges a little bit, and she's going to be my hands today. And so we're going to take you through the website quickly, and then I want to bring another voice into the room. So the website, as Supervisor Chan was describing so eloquently, is a place where we can, it's a mechanism for education and advocacy, the ideas that Supervisor Chan was talking about. The real impetus for the Human Impact Budget Project came out of a budget cycle a few years ago when Supervisor Chan asked the question, as we were going through cuts after cuts, she was asking, what happens to people when we do these cuts? And that was a much more challenging answer than we might think. We're much better in government, we're much better at understanding what we are doing than what we're not doing. So that really became the impetus for taking a look at, you know, what's really happening to people and talking to people themselves and hearing their ideas and hearing their stories. So as you can see in the banner here, this is the website, and we talk about experiencing the stories, getting the facts, and taking action. So the thing that was most important to us was the idea of collecting stories from people in video format and in written format to just really understand from people who had safety net services or needed safety net services, what their lives are like, and to talk to them directly about, you know, what are you needing, or what is your experience? And what we learned from a lot of people is their experiences were very different than the services we were providing. So that was a very important learning for us. Then the next thing is to get the facts, is that really from all the sources, including a lot of people that are going to be here today, to try to understand the different ways that poverty is showing up in Alameda County and the state. Really what we started to talk about from the beginning was the idea of, you know, these budget cuts and the impact they were having. Well, as the budget started to get better, as I think everybody in this room knows, that doesn't mean that things are getting better for people who are dependent on safety net services. So that was a big part. And then the last piece of this is to take action on what we've seen and what we've learned. So this is the homepage for the Human Impact Budget. Like I said, we've got stories on here. We've got videos. We're going to look at a video in a second. If you go to the About page, you could see every one of our pages, we've put photos of people who live in our community, who have stories to tell, and we've tried to drop in some facts and data. If you go to the Stories page, Emily. So here we have different stories that we've collected and will continue to collect from people. I just had a really great privilege to spend an hour or 2 hours with different people and just talk about their lives. Very, very moving stories, and we've turned these into short stories, which we'd encourage you to look at. And we'd also encourage you, if you have stories to tell or you know people with stories to tell, we would like to continue to gather those. If you go down to the bottom of this page, click down, you could see if somebody wants to share their story with us, they could just click here, and they could do it in written format, or they can send us a video, and you could use this to give us your email address and just stay posted on what we're doing. Okay, then going to the next section. The reports, every year as part of the county budget project, this is a new recent development, we do a human impact budget report as well, so looking at the human impacts of the budget. And so this is the 2013-14 report that you see there. The 2014-15 report will be coming out soon. It's actually written, it's going through the review process now. And if you slide down a little bit here and look at the presentations, you'll see that we've already put up the early budget work session PowerPoint from a couple weeks ago. Every time we do a new presentation, we put it up here. And if you're interested, you might want to take a look at that and see if there's something that interests you. If you want me to come do a presentation, I'll be glad to do something on any of these subjects. So then the next section is after you've gathered all this information, and if people need help, click on that. This is, we've also set this up, children and families, adults, and older adults. And of course, we've got 211, so that's probably the easiest way to get information. But we're trying to update this with different ways that people can get access to resources. And then finally, the last section is if you do want to take action, you can come here. And one thing I would like to highlight here is Supervisor Chan, she talked about this today. This is really our guiding principle. In the end, the budget is not about numbers, it's about people. We want to keep people at the forefront of our policy decisions. But, okay, that's interesting over there. But if you scroll down, ignore what's behind the screen. No, to the right there, yeah. Step one. So the way that you could take action here is we've got a little, we've got some language here. People, if you don't know who their elected representative is, you could click here. You could find out who your local representative is. You could email directly to the governor's website, not directly to the governor. He controls that pretty well. If you want to register to vote, this is a place where you can register directly, or if you want to find out if your registration information is current, you could also do that. And then once again, you can let us know your email. We won't be sending you spam, but we'll just keep you posted on what we're doing. And again, if you want to share your story. So that's what the website looks like. And what I want to do is, because we're in a pseudo-technology place here, we're going to, can you pause that for a second? So as I was saying, we have collected some video stories with people. This one is Sharon Reinhart. All of the stories have been personally moving to me and incredibly informative for me, you know, just sort of understanding things in a very new way. So it's just really a privilege to be able to share these stories. And Sharon talks about her life and her child and what's important to her, and we want to just close with sharing this with you. Thanks. Go ahead.
My name is Sharon. My son's name is Tishay. He is 3. He'll be 4 in March. And he is my world. Well, I grew up with my mom until I was like 11, and she put me in the foster system. I had been in a foster system until I was 19. I emancipated, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go into a transitional housing program. I've always felt like I, was on my own, even in foster care. I've been working since I was 15, I've had shelter, but as far as me being on my own and making my own decisions, that's, not anything new. Being a parent is rewarding more than anything because, it's a lot of people who are struggling and, can't get any help, and just to be in the position that I am and to have a support system and be able to have housing is a blessing. They house anywhere from mentally ill to people who, can't afford regular housing. And I'm on Section 8 here. The apartments are lovely, very, very, very wonderful. I love living here. When I get my AA, I want to work with foster children that basically, went through what I went through, whether it's working in a group home or being a counselor or, anything like that. I would want to work with kids so I can try to give them the resources that I had. Because I know for a long time, my social workers weren't, trying to help me or do things to help me better myself. So, I would really just love to give kids the opportunities that I had because it was a support system that was behind me, and I would love to be that to another child. What's missing, I would just say, is a support system to be behind, not even just kids, older people, addicts, they all need help. And it's just when you have help and you know that you're going to have someone to help you get to where you have to go, it's so much easier to not only want to succeed, but to succeed. So I want him to have, growing up, I want him to have the opportunities not only that I didn't have, but I did have. Because I know a lot of people who didn't grow up in foster care that is homeless, can't find housing, can't find a job, can't get their schooling paid for, and they went basically, the same things I went through, except they were living at home. I appreciate you guys for coming, and what you're doing, I think is, really good, trying to get people's stories out there so, they won't try to cut funding or cut services or anything like that. Like, we need all the help we can get, it's not like I'm not helping myself, or trying to, benefit my own life, but sometimes people need support.
So I just want to close by thanking Andy, too, who's out there somewhere. He's doing the video today. He was my partner on doing the video. And also, just to let you know, the website's at www.acgov.org/HIB. And if you got stories, you got information to share with us, I'd really like to hear from you. Thanks.